انكسر المرتبة
من الايد بقى.
ليه؟ Yes. Yes. So I didn't join. I was. So now I just. This is 5. 5 from 8. Lulu.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Professor. How are you?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Is this everybody?
Usually we take 5 minutes, more minutes,
Yeah,
so they can join us.
no problem at all.
Okay, so hello, Lucille. Hello, student. This is Nermeen speaking from Liverpool Colleges.
Hi, Nirmeen. How are you?
Hi, Nermeen.
Hi, how are you doing, guys?
Doing fine, alhamdulillah.
This is the customer support supervisor. Okay, so today I'm going to introduce you with teacher Lucille. She's going to cover up teacher Andy due to a health problem. Welcome, Lucille.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Welcome, Professor Lucille,
Thank you so much.
and hope that the professor will be fine soon.
Yes.
Great.
It's not Corona, hopefully.
No.
Lucille, let us wait just 5 minutes more, then we can begin our session.
Sure. Thank you.
You're welcome. So let me introduce myself for the new entries. My name is Narmeen Maroof, the customer support supervisor. Okay. I'll be following up with you regarding any inquiries or concerns you have witnessed through your learning process. Okay, so today I've sent to all of you a link for the warm-up session. This will take 15 to 30 minutes to answer all your questions and concerns and to guide you through the portal account if you have any technical issues. All right?
Yes, hello, Nermeen.
Hello, dear.
Well, as I understood, so you're academic advisor as well, or just technical?
A customer support supervisor,
Okay, so
not the academic coordinator.
not the academic coordinator.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nermeen,
Yes, Sana.
we understand that the link will attain us or will provide us with a 15-minute session with you, I think,
Exactly.
on individual basis. I mean,
Yes.
everyone alone.
One-to-one. Yes.
Can we do like a mentoring or a coaching, or I don't know what I call it, what session with you, all of us, because sometimes we have different questions and maybe on individual basis we will not recall all the question or what we are wondering about. So can we just discuss like for, let's say, 45 minutes or 30 minutes, like a short session with you, all the students, so we can ask like one question each.
Okay.
I think it will cover more inquiries from our parts. I don't know if the others agree or not. If we can sustain the one-to-one session, but at first we can do a group session.
Unfortunately, we can't offer that. We're just offering one-to-one sessions because we got this from the provider.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Like we have informed by the provider to conduct a one-to-one sessions to answer all the concerns and questions.
Okay, if we can't, excuse me, if we can do one-to-one, maybe we can do a light session after the coaching. You can just ask a few questions all together. Can we? Another choice. Nermeen?
Yes.
I am proposing that if we can extend the coaching session for like a half an hour after we finish the coaching session for the 724 material, we can just talk to you for like a half an hour and prepare our questions. Then if any one of us, if we have further questions on individual basis, he can link to the link that you sent before.
Well, honestly, I'm not available by this time. I'm only available at the time that were specified at the calendar.
Okay. Hopefully, if something new comes up, update us about it.
Of course, that's why we have created the warm-up session, so we could help you and support you throughout your learning process.
Yes, thank you for doing this. I mean, if something can come up with a group session, if it's possible in the future, I mean, update us. We are waiting your emails if it's possible. If it's not, well, then it's one-to-one.
I'm going to inform the provider regarding this, and we will see. I'll let you know.
Thank you, dear. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Right now, we can start our session, Lucille.
Thank you very much. So hello, everybody. So what will be helpful for me is just to get a feel from you about where it is that you currently are in terms of your studies, because obviously I'm filling in for today, so that will be helpful for me. So what we're covering is, and I'm sorry, I've got two screens, so I'm looking at my second screen as well. So this is obviously module 724. So what is it that you have covered so far? And I want this to be an interactive session because obviously you're going to get more if you interact and if you answer questions or if you use the chat box. So what have you covered so far is the first question, and then I've got a follow-up question for you then as well.
Well, in the 724, we've covered the motivation.
Yep.
And the governance.
Yep.
And the interpersonal skills.
Perfect. Wonderful. And so then when you are looking at the assignments that you have to do, what assignments have you done so far and what assignments do you need to do? Just on this module so that I can get clear as well, so I can help you to focus. Welcome, Saeed.
Well, we're working on the 711 to be delivered soon, inshallah, to be submitted. Yani. But 724, we'll start doing it later.
Right. So sorry, you were saying something about 711?
Yes, we're working on 711 right now to submit it.
Right. So you're working on assignment.
I think most of us do, but this is for me, but I think most of us as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. That's really helpful. Thank you, Sarah. Is that the same for everybody else as well? Is 7-Eleven what you are working on at the moment?
No, I haven't accomplished anyone yet.
Okay, wonderful. So what I am going to do then is that for me, what's helpful is to kind of get an idea of, like I say, of where it is that you are, so I can make sure that this session is focused as much as possible on exactly what it is that you need to kind of get out of this session. And so today's session is all about helping you to understand and interpret accounts. And so I'm curious, how are you in terms of accounts? Like, what's your level of experience with accounts? And again, I want you to all answer this because it's going to be useful for me to kind of go through the material just so that I can make sure that I'm kind of covering it in the way that you need it to be covered.
I'm sorry, I didn't get you well at the beginning because the internet wasn't stable, but from what I understood, you want me to tell you what I know about accounts or where my level is in accounts, is it?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Well, okay. For my bachelor degree, I studied finance. So for me, accounting and finance, I think it's really more interesting than strategies and plans. So I'm doing, I think, well.
Helpful, thank you. And what about the rest of you? So Sana, Ahmed, Wafa, Fadi, Maji, Mutaz, Saeed, because again, it's just helpful for me to kind of get this overview of where it is that you are at the moment.
Hello, teacher.
Hi.
My name is Fadi. I'm a marketing manager in pharmaceutical company.
Okay.
And my background is pharmacy, but I'm dealing for a long time with the finance department because we are dealing in accounts and selling our product to other countries. So I'm a little bit familiar with the finance and finance terminology.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
And for me,
Mhm.
my major is accounting, and I'm now doing my MBA, so I know a lot about it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And Wafa, I was asking the question what your kind of level of experience is in terms of accounts and finance, because this session is all about helping you to interpret business accounts. So I just wanted to get an idea of what your level of experience was.
Okay, I have no experience at all in
That's
accounting or finance.
fine.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, hi, Lucille again.
Hi.
Well, I am a BA accounting graduate, so I have the basic accounting information, but unfortunately, I didn't work in accounting. I work in HR and administration.
Mm.
So thank God I have the information about the three,
Yeah.
but
Perfect.
a little bit accounting because accounting is involved in any, can I say, any field. Like HR, you have some accounting
Yeah.
in, for example, salaries and entitlements for employees. And also administration, we are responsible of the budget and controlling the accounts and expenditures. But
Mm.
it's not really deep in accounting, but at all, it's okay.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. Thank you. And Malak, I see you got your hand up.
Yes, hello.
Hi.
Actually, I have no experience at all with accounting,
Mhm.
but I attend so many trainings about and workshops about accounting because when you are involved with like anything about business administrations and etc. You need like the basic knowledge about accounting. But my mom is accountant, and
Okay.
my like I always think about the accounting as a boring thing, because you always deal with number, and you must be like so workaholic to be an accountant. It's not what I want, but I want to know the basic knowledge to how to know how to deal with my business, because now I get a fund from a sponsor for my business, but I want to be safe to do this business. I want to hire an accountant, but I want to administrate everything with it. So
Yeah, and that
that's it.
makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense that even if you're going to outsource something, even if you're going to hire somebody to do the accounts for you, it's still important that you have an understanding for yourself about how things are done, so that you can have that reassurance. Mesa, is that how I'm pronouncing it? Sorry if that's wrong.
Yes, good evening. How are you? You sound my name is correct, Maisa. I am Maisa. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. Sorry, I'm so late, but I have actually problems with the connection to the lectures. For that, I'm sorry for enjoying you
That's
so
okay.
late.
That's okay, no problem. Do you
So
want
I
to
missed
share?
a lot of things, I think.
Yeah, so this is really just the beginning of it, and I was getting an overview from everybody about their experience with accounting and interpreting business accounts. So as you have the floor, what's kind of your experience in terms of accounting and things like that?
Actually, I'm working in as a senior project coordinator in Greater Amman municipality. It's a public sector with experience more than 50 years in project management, business, quality. You can say a lot of things in the business, actually, because as you know, project management including a lot of fields and from different sides. Actually, I'm working now as a senior project coordinator for a digital transfer project in the GAM, in the e-government section.
Nice.
Yeah. I have experience working in the strategy and planning, and I focus now about the innovations and the strategy and the leadership, actually, because it's the trend for the how it's you can say it's managed the world is from the most important trend that we hear it in the world, actually. For that, I'm focused a lot, and actually I take master degrees now, but in the same time I'm focused to take kind of professional certified. I am innovation assessor certified, EFQM certified.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I have a lot of certified, and I have actually high diploma in e-government, actually, and e-governance.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Faisal?
Thank you, dear.
No problem.
Okay.
No problem. Thank you.
Let me make it kind of more mute. Just 1 minute.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear.
Faisal, can you hear me? Hi. Can you hear me? I'll come back to you, Faisal, and I'll move on to Mutaz.
Yeah, I'm here. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Sorry, I've just joined around 4 minutes ago.
That's all right. That's all right. So we're just getting started. So I'm really getting a feel for what your experience is in terms of accounting and business accounts, just to kind of get a feel for how things are for you.
Okay. Actually, I'm working as a commercial team. I have around 10 years of experience, all in commercial. For sure, I'm dealing with numbers as I'm preparing the budget with the team for the year in terms of revenue and gross profit. We are dealing also somehow with the expenses and cost for the company. Yes, we are preparing for the company plan, for the company strategy for the next year, and let's say for the 3 to 4 to 5 years as a long-term plan and strategy for the company. And that's it.
Perfect, thank you. Engineering for Kids. Sorry, I can't see your actual name. It just says Engineering for Kids.
Hi.
Hi.
Actually, I am entering from the company account. I didn't notice that until now.
Sorry, say
Hello,
that
can you
again.
hear
You
me?
said. Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, I said I am working as an operation manager in engineering for kids. Yeah, I have been working there for 3 years. And my name is Shuruk, by the way.
It was say your name again, sorry.
It's Shuruk. But I am busy a little bit. I am yeah, I have done right now. So so I am a mechatronics engineer. I work as an operation manager. I got BMB certification this year. What else? I've done. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so this is my CV actually. I cannot think in a big way because I'm in my way in.
Okay, no problem at all. No problem at all. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Thank you. Thanks.
Welcome.
And then I've got Saeed.
Hi, teacher. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm Saad Taha. I am working at UNRWA as one agency of United Nations. I work in supply chain management as a manager in supply chain management. I have experience. I have BA in business administration and BMB. So I have some course as alternative course in business administration for accounting, and in project management take a course on accounting, but I'm not working in accounting in my company or organization. Thank you.
That's fine. Thank you so much. Majdi?
Yes, hi there. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for asking.
Good. And what about you? What's kind of your experience?
I'm a maintenance manager in one of the biggest retail stores back here, home. My background is mechanical engineering, but I'm like a bit familiar with the cash flow and these kind of stuff. I used to be a project engineer back in the day, so yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. And then, sorry. Were you going to say something else then? Perfect. Faisal, can you speak now?
Yeah, can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. So what is the question?
So the question is just what's your experience with accounting, with business accounts in general?
So hi, my name is Faisal Tahboush. I live here in Jordan. And currently I'm working with Oxfam Jordan on a solid waste management project in one of the, for the Syrian refugees camp. So I do project management currently as senior officer. Previously, I've been working with Oxfam actually for 3 years now.
Okay.
And previously I worked with UNICEF as a project assistant and operation assistant. This is my experience, 5 years of experience I have. And all of them are in the camp helping the refugees.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I've got Amira. Can you hear me, Amira? Can you talk? Just going to check the chats as well. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Can I ask you a question, please?
Yes.
What's your name? How do you spell your name?
So my name is Lucille.
Lucille.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Okay, so as I say, this session is all about helping you to interpret and understand accounts. And the purpose of this session is really to help you to kind of prepare for the assignments that you've got coming up so that you can make sure that you've got the knowledge that you need to be able to successfully complete the assignments that have been assigned to you. So let me just, I'm just going to lower your hand, Malak, just so otherwise I'll get confused. Oh, that's fine. That's fine, Amira.
What? Sorry? You said my name.
Oh, no. So Amira put something in the chat, so I said that's fine for Amira.
Actually, Lisa, I hope you will your session today will help us, because as you know, it's so important for us because we are begin reading and preparing to write assignments. We have some kind of issue we has not clear for us about it. For example, when you read the assignment, they have questions. It's in general, but we have to just customize about the case you want. We need actually another things that we need kind of resource to write it and a reference to get back and to help us what we have to write and get it.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah,
and
that's
actually we don't have, we ask a lot of time that we need kind of, they have some you can see institute that give you account that you can have access to kind of resource or database to get this kind of reference that will help you to write. Okay, sometimes we have contribution in kind of them, but sometimes if you want to go, for example, when I go to read the material, I find they put me a link. When I put the link, I go access, they ask me to buy, to make contribution for some kind of, to use it. They need contribution to payment. This is not useful for us. For that, we need kind of access for kind of resource. We need to go in and get back to read this kind of reference to help us to write our assignments. It's so important, this point.
Yeah,
thank you.
I agree. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really helpful. And so what I'm going to do, and also I want to just make sure that for you, this, like I say, that this is useful for you. And so because this is module 724, I'm looking at assignment 724, and obviously there are different tasks within that assignment. And so again, I think I asked the question earlier, but I just want to clarify it. What assignments have you done so far in module 724? Because it's all split into different tasks. So I don't want to cover anything that you've already covered, is what I'm saying. So I want to make sure that what I'm covering is actually something that you can use and that's useful for you.
Well, it's only just one assignment, 724. It has many assessments. Each module has an assessment, but doesn't have any other assignments.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. So when I'm looking at 724, I can see that there are various tasks there. And so I just want to clarify, have you done any of these tasks at the moment, or is it just, I just want to make sure that you haven't gone through everything, because I don't want to go through something that you've already been through before.
No, we haven't done anything.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so
much.
Actually
begin because as I told you, we have a problem. One of them, it's kind of resource and reference. We need it. To write about. If you want to write, for example, a scenarios for company or your organization, you have to get some kind of reference that you help you to write and make customized for the situation that you have. It's an important point for us.
Yeah.
And we need now, it's a coaching session, as I know now. We need to understand how to begin write the assignments.
Yeah.
As I know, because in the scientific methodology writing, you need, for example, have introduction, then summary about what you are writing during this assignment. Then you you moving to answer the question that you read it in assignments, but in the way and connect with each task and questions, because what
Yeah.
you rated in the paragraph, for example, one, you need to connecting with the another question. It's a sequence.
And you are absolutely right that yes, the structure is important. So that's one of the things that I'm going to go through. And Malik, I can see your hand is up, so I will come to you shortly. And that's one of the things that I'm going to be covering, as well as kind of how it is that you can kind of go about structuring, and then also having an open discussion so we can kind of go through the actual task to make sure that you'll kind of have an understanding of how to complete it. And as you said, Mesa, that what if you're not working in that environment, so you can kind of get that information and sharing suggestions for some other things that you can do as well. Malik?
Yes, Professor. Actually, I want to ask you about this session. It will be important for us for the assignments, in all the assignments, or in only one assignment, because actually I'm very new to all this program. I attend this the last session, and it was my first session ever. So I had no chance to attend the coaching session yet. So yes, and I want to ask about if this lecture will be like important in all the assignments, and all the 8 assignments, or in one assignment. That's it.
Thank you so much. And Liverpool College is on here as well, so hopefully they can kind of help you with answering some of those specific questions as well that you have. But what I want to focus on today is just making sure that we go through the tasks for the purposes of the assignment, and that you have an understanding of how to approach answering the question. Of course, I can't give you the answers, but we can go through some ideas for how it is that you can kind of construct your response. And then I take Mesa's point as well about, well, how do you even kind of begin? Where do you start? And so what I'm going to do, so let me just admit wafer. So Sana, this is a coaching session. So it's a coaching session designed to help you to understand how to complete the assignments. Thank you. I hope that clarifies it. And Amira, thank you so much for putting your response.
Teacher, this is in general or for 724?
For 724.
We still have material. We didn't finish it.
And sorry, what is it that you haven't finished?
I mean 724. It's around 6 modules.
Yes.
We finished until now 3.
Excuse me, Professor. We
yes,
usually
Anna?
have the coaching after we finish the whole module. Like we finish 7, like my colleague said here. Is like when we finish all the modules in 724 or the subject, they give us coaching session, and the calendar on the web site is not updated, so we are a little bit confused. That's why we are asking if it's this a coaching or it is a new subject. Am I right, Fadi?
Yeah, we have today I think interpreting business accounts.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, actually.
This is according to the calendar, teacher. So
This is
we still have 2 weeks, and the 3rd week from now is the coaching session.
Thank you so much for that. So no, so that is fine. So yes, I understand that this session is analysing and interpreting business accounts, and that there's also coaching attached to that as well. And I just wanted to be clear what had already been covered with you in terms of the coaching elements of going through the assignments, so I could make sure that I wasn't covering things that you had already covered, because obviously that's not useful for you. Does that help to clarify it?
Yes.
Thank you. And Malik, did you have another question?
No, I probably forgot to lower my hand.
No problem. Thank you. Let me see if I can do that. Okay, thank you. So you've lowered your hand, so that's perfect. And so, as I say, this is all about helping you to interpret and understand business accounts. And I'm not looking at you at the moment because I've got 2 screens. So I've got my second screen open, so please forgive me. It's just so I can make sure that I've got all of the information open in front of me. So Let me just go into it. Right. And so the purpose of this module is really to help you to understand how to use different methods for accounting, for reporting financial information in your business. Because as a business, a lot of the times it will be you by yourself doing a lot of the activities. So you will be the marketer, you will be the accountant, you will be the salesperson, you'll be the customer service person. And so the purpose of this is really just to help you to get an overview of some of the accounting processes and procedures in place, so that when you are doing your accounts, you can either do them yourself, or when you are hiring somebody to do them for you, you've got that understanding behind it, so that you're not just hiring somebody and you don't know what it is that you're doing yourself. And it's really to develop an understanding of the different techniques that you can use as well. And then also, let me just move this over here so that I'm not looking at two screens at the same time. And then helping you to kind of evaluate the financial stability of an organization using some examples and some calculations, so that you can understand, first of all, kind of how to apply it. And the thing that's important to understand about accounting is that it's really important that you have the data that's necessary to be able to understand your accounts, because you will have to pay tax. There's accounting requirements for you. So it's important that whatever money it is that you've got coming in and going out of your business, that you are able to properly account for that. And there are different pieces of software that can kind of help you in your business. I'm a little bit old school, so I use Excel spreadsheets to help me to kind of keep track of what's coming in and what's coming out of my business. And so that's some of the things that it's kind of helpful to kind of go through with you as well. So the first thing that I want to kind of cover with you during this process is, again, like I say, the importance of making sure that you are keeping accurate records. And in order to keep accurate records, you have to understand, well, what are the records that I need to keep when it is that I am looking at my business? And so when I'm talking about records, I'm talking about things like invoices, things like receipts, so that you know how much money it is that you are, so what your expenses are, and that you've got receipts to kind of back up those expenses that you've incurred as well, that you've got invoices to support work that you have done in your business as well. So there's a lot that goes into it, and so I want to just make sure that you have that understanding. And so there are two types of accounts, and I don't know how you normally do this. I don't know whether or not it's normally a screen share, or whether or not it's just a kind of just a discussion like this. What is it that you are used to? Because I want to make sure that it's streamlined.
I think both, actually.
Okay. Usually it's a combination between both discussions and sharing some materials and other things.
Perfect, because that's what I was going to do. I just wanted to make sure. So at the moment, I'm just giving you the overview, and then I'm going to kind of go into some specific examples, because for me, I'm a visual person, so it helps to kind of see things rather than just kind of have somebody talking at you.
And actually, Professor, we want to stress on the points that will help us to produce the assignment. So in this subject, we want you to stress the points that we will go to when we are answering the questions of the assignment.
Of course, absolutely.
Actually, what we need now is that we have to take every section of the assignments and to understand what we have to focus when we write it in our assignments. What kind of data that we need, what things that we have put it in this section. For example, the section number 1, task number 1, what we have to put it in this part. Task 2, what we have to put it. That we need to understand what kind of information or things that we have to write about it. This is the important things for us, because sometimes we understand the question, but maybe they want something that we don't cover it or do it. What the most important that we have to know it.
Yeah, no,
Thank
and
you.
I get that, and that makes sense, which is why I kind of started with the assignments and just understanding where you were with that first of all, before I kind of went into the detail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the detail of this session to help you to kind of understand some of the terminology, and first of all, help you to understand why it is that it's important that you keep records, that you have that in place, because by keeping accurate records, it helps you to know when things have gone wrong. So it helps you to know when things don't add up. So keeping accurate records, the reason that that's important is because there are some people who may be dishonest. Okay, so if you've got other people working with you, you need to be able to understand what you've got coming in and going out of your business so that you can make sure that everything kind of matches up. So you want to make sure that you're avoiding things like fraud or theft, or that if the unfortunate does happen and somebody does take money from you, that you've got systems in place to help you to be able to spot that early on. So that's the first thing to focus on. And so I'm just going to admit this other person that's kind of come into the room. And so one of the sections on this is, and the first part that we're coming to, it's asking you to kind of, I'm just going to check, there's somebody trying to speak then. Okay. And so the first part that we're kind of coming to, where I want there to kind of be a discussion, which is why I asked that question at the beginning about what is your kind of experience with accounting and finances. Well, the first part of this section, what it's asking you to do is to provide an overview or an outline of the processes used by your own organizations in terms of bookkeeping or accounting to kind of help you to manage the process. And what I just want to check with you is because Maisa made a really good point that, you know, we may not have experience of any of this, and how is it that we're going to be able to obtain this information? And so I guess the question is, how flexible are your employers? Would you be able to, for example, speak to the accounting department and spend some time with them, understanding their processes and how it is that they manage the accounts of the organization? Is that something that's possible for you to do? And that's an open question, so please feel free to answer.
So for me, it depends on the situation. So sometimes you need to call the finance department or any other department actually in the organization to get better understanding about some things. And other times you have to send emails and wait for the response. But most of the time, if it was like a very big policy related issue or a procedure, the organization or the related department, they conduct trainings for the staff and the employees working in the organization. This is regarding our organization, actually.
Perfect, thank you. And so this is going to kind of answer one of the questions that Maisa had. Well, how do we get this information? So I'm just sharing my screen at the moment, because the first thing that we come to when we're looking at this is for you just to do some research. And the research for you at this point is really to look at your own organizations, look at where it is that you currently work, and get an understanding of the processes that they use to be able to keep track of their accounts. And the way that I would suggest that you do this is that you kind of come up with some questions that you prepare for them, because it's asking you to do a diagram outlining the accounting structure within the organization. So for me, the best place to start is always kind of with the end in mind. So you're starting with the accounting structure. So what you need to know is from start to finish. For example, when somebody pays an invoice, what is the process that is followed once an invoice is paid? Because that will give you an overview of the processes and the procedures that your organization follows when money is received for them. Maisa, you've taken yourself off mute.
Actually, I want to tell you something. For me, actually, I am working in public organization, which they have kind of systems, methodologies, for example, that tell me the process for work. It's a kind of service or process or procedures, whatever. For that, my reference, for example, for me, is that the documentation, the process for work in this kind of documentation. It's called the methodology. For example, the methodology for report financial. We put it in documentation. They show us the steps how to do it. And for example, this is for me, if I want to write in my organization, this is one of them. And they use different methodology than I studying in this kind of program.
Sorry, let me just admit somebody. So you're saying that the what they use there is different to what you're kind of being taught here.
Yes. Yes.
And this is the thing, it's going to be slightly different from organization to organization. And the purpose of this is really for you to get an overview of how somebody else does things. For that very reason, because people do things differently. And the more you know about how different organizations manage their accounts, the more you will be able to make an informed decision about how it is that you manage your accounts. And of course, in this situation, whether you're using it for yourself because you've got a business or whether you are using it for your career, the important thing is that you have an awareness of different ways to do things. Hold on, let me just, I've got more people in the waiting room.
So the first thing that I have to read the material, and this is so important to understand how I will transfer this knowledge in my assignments. This is the first step that I must do. It's okay.
Yeah.
Then after that, I have to take every section and answer through my reading the material.
Yes, so when you're going through your assignment, you'll have your task, and so you'll just need to be able to answer each assessment in the task. And a lot of the assessments in the task, it's requiring you to do some research and to kind of go out elsewhere to be able to help you to kind of find that information. So a lot of it is doing some research, a lot of it is collecting information to help you to understand how things are done by other people. And that's the point of it, because it's a learning exercise. And I see that Nasri's just joined us, so welcome. And so sorry.
Yes, hello everyone.
Hello there. So I've just got my screen shared. So what I was just explaining is just that one of the first things that that's important for you to do, first of all, is to really understand the process that your own organization uses when it comes to managing their accounts. So what's the process that they go through? Because a lot of organizations will have their procedures written down, they will have their processes written down, and if they don't have them written down, then there should be somebody within that department that you can go to and that you can spend some time with to be able to understand. So for example, I've worked in organizations and they've got the standard operating procedures, and those standard operating procedures is what everybody uses to help them to understand how to do things on a day-to-day basis. And so really the purpose of this is just to help you to have an overview and understanding of the procedure that they are using to be able to deal with accounts, so deal with money coming in and money going out. And then that's going to kind of be the basis that you use then to kind of help you to navigate through the rest of the modules. Excepting, of course, that like you've pointed out, that the process that they use could be slightly different to the process that you are being taught. But what it's doing is it's giving you a baseline, it's giving you an understanding. So what I'm gonna do is just for ease, just in case that's not caught, I'm going to put that in the chat. So I've just typed into the chat what it is that the assignment says there to do, so that you've got that, so you can save the chat if you want to, or you can kind of copy and paste this. And then I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and go back. And so that's the first thing. The first thing is really just to get an understanding of the process. And it's important that when we're talking about accounting or when we're talking about bookkeeping, that there are typically two types of different systems that are used. And please, as I'm going through this, because I've got my screen minimized, I can't see you when you've got your hand raised. So if you do have a question as we are going through this, please raise your hand. Please just unmute yourself and feel free to ask a question as I'm going through this, because I want to make sure that I'm not missing anybody. And so when we talk about accounting, when we talk about bookkeeping, there are typically two systems that are used. So there's a single entry system and then there's a double entry system. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, because I'm conscious that otherwise I'm just going to be talking at you and you're going to be like, I don't understand. So at least you can kind of follow on with what it is that I'm saying. Can you all see my screen now?
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. So this is what I'm going through with you now. And again, this is to give you an overview, because I just want to make sure. So do you have access to this? So do you have access to kind of this resource that's available to you? Or is this the first time that you are seeing this?
Yes.
You mean the portal?
We have access.
Okay, perfect. So you've got access to this entire portal, so you can see all of the things that I'm going through with you. The reason I'm checking is because I just want to make sure that you've got access to all of the information that you need to be able to help you to complete the assignments.
Actually, I have access to this materials, but I've never seen it. I didn't reach to this level actually.
I see. Okay, that's fine, but that's helpful to know though, because at least I know that you've kind of got access to it. Because what I don't want to do is I want to make sure that we're kind of managing the time that we have together. So what I don't want to do is kind of go through every single part of it, but what I want to do is kind of go through the specific areas where you are required to do activities to make sure that you can kind of understand the activities that you are then being asked to do.
You have the assignment?
So the 724 assignment.
Yeah, yes, you have it in your computers.
I do.
Yeah. Because if you could share with us the screen, it's better to understand which type of assignment, task 1 or task 2 to explain.
Because it's interesting, because when I looked through all of the tasks, there wasn't anything that I could specifically see that talked about the accounting element of it. So let me just share my screen so you can see what I'm talking about, and we can all make sure that we're kind of on the same page. I think it's this one. So this is the assignment that I am looking at, so 724. And of course, as you can see here, there's different scenarios. So there's a scenario that you've been given, and then it tells you what it is that you need to do. So you need to provide details of your research and then the number of words. So it's telling you what it is that you need to do. And then it says then that what you need to do is you need to use the results of your research to understand the tasks below. So to complete the tasks that are set out below. And there are many different tasks. And what it says is that when you are submitting this, submit it as one rather than as kind of submitting it as 4 separate documents, submit it as one. And you could just do headings just to make it clear what task it is that you are responding to. And the question that I was asking earlier is that what tasks have you done already? Sorry,
yes, actually, I don't have this material. I only have 712 unit and 708.
Okay, so you've got 712 and 708. Perfect.
And 712.
Okay.
Only.
712 and 708 is what you've got.
Yes, so actually, I guess I should be starting at the next. Because I'm new to this level, I guess I'll be starting in the next month, actually. That's why the study material are not complete in my dashboard.
I see. That's fine.
Professor,
Sure.
we have we received the assignments, all the assignments, but maybe because Malak is new, am I right, Malak?
Yes, yes.
She didn't get all the assignments. Maybe if
Right.
she contact Nermeen, am I right? She could send them to you. Or if you want, we will forward the assignments for you sent to us previously, as you wish. But I don't know, because you're new. Maybe there is new assignments. I don't know.
Yes, I will contact with you privately after this session, please, and I may contact with tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Yep. So let's see.
Thanks to Nermeen, I'm Sana, but I'm happy to help you also.
For
Okay.
example, sorry, I want to ask. For example, in the task one, they have a points. This points about topic. What kind of topic that we have covered in this kind, if this part of task? Can you guide us about this point?
Say that again, sorry, because you were cutting out and there was some background noise then.
What I say, for example, task one, talk about some points to cover about the manager developments and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us kind of points to guide us what we have to write in this kind of assignments? Task one, that's what's the point that we have to covering. Task two, the points that we have actually covered, and another. That's what we need to be focused about the things that we want to write it.
Sure. And okay, so let's just clarify this. So this was a session all about understanding and interpreting business accounts. And so one of the things that I was doing, excuse me, my throat is dry. So one of the things that I was doing is that when I looked at this assignment or this task for module 724, there wasn't something that was specific that kind of related to understanding and interpreting accounts. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to help you to understand how to interpret and understand business accounts. But what I'm hearing from you is that actually what would be helpful is to go through the tasks themselves on this assignment and to give you some tips and some guidance on how to respond to each of the tasks on this assignment.
Yes, this is what we want, because sometimes when go to read the task, and to want to make the scenarios, sometimes they have a confused.
Yeah.
For that, we have just to know the tips, what's the heads line that we have to focus in every task. This is what we need actually. We have huge, but we have to make it small and specific and customized in the case that we have. Even in our organization, other organization, or the big, if you want to look for international organization, for example, if we want to take as a case to write it for our assignments.
So what I'm hearing you say is that there isn't, I'm just paraphrasing here. So what you're saying is that for you, it's more helpful to go through the actual assignment so that you know how to complete the assignment.
I want to know the topic that I have to write it in every assignment.
Yeah.
Because when I take, for example, the strategy manager, it's focused about the skills, how I have to work in these skills.
Yeah.
When I go to the assignments, I read this question number one. So what I have to write? This is simple. What kind of tips or headlines that I have to focus when I want to write in this kind of assignments?
Okay, thank you very much for that. And I see that there's lots of different comments in here. So I just want to be clear about what it is that we are doing today. So yes, it's about helping you to ensure that you can complete the assignments. but it's also about helping you to understand the background to the assignments, because you can't complete an assignment until you understand the philosophy behind it, so you understand the kind of teachings behind it. And so whilst I fully appreciate everything that you're saying, that, you know, that what would be more helpful is to kind of to understand the tasks that you need to complete. My understanding is that it's about interpreting and analysing business accounts, and then we can look at the specific task which relates to that, and then help you to understand how it is that you would complete that. However, what I'm doing now is I'm looking specifically at the task to see the specific one which relates to understanding and analysing business accounts. Yeah, so understanding and interpreting accounts is the fundamental part of making strategic decisions. Yes, it is. It is, because it's all part of the same. I look at it as a puzzle. They're all pieces of the same puzzle. And so having that kind of understanding helps you to be able to make sure that you can complete everything, because as you've pointed out, each of these tasks in here relates to something different. It relates to something different that you've covered. Okay, so I am going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to go back to this because I think it's important that we're all just on the same page here. Because as I understand it, you have your individual coaching sessions as well. So if there are specific things that you don't understand to help you to complete the assignments, then I would say that that's probably something to take to that individual coaching session, so you can get that guidance. And then that guidance then is personalized to you and to your own specific needs and exactly where it is that you are. Does that make sense? What I want to do at this moment in time is just make sure that you're understanding the modules, so that when it comes time to do the assignments, that you know you already have that knowledge to help you to do the assignments. And any specific assistance that you need in terms of completing those assignments, you can get either through, we can cover it today when we come to the end of this, or you can do that through your coaching sessions. But first, you need to understand it to be able to apply it. So I'm just going to keep going. And so one of the things that I was talking about is that when it comes to bookkeeping, when it comes to accounting, there are typically two different systems that are used. So there's what's called the single entry system, and then there's a double entry system. So for the single entry system, for everything that comes in, a single entry will be made marking that transaction. So if £100 comes in, a single entry is made marking in the fact that £100 has kind of come into the business. And so, for example, the scenario that's given here is when you've got your current account. So in the UK, we've got current accounts. When I look at my bank statement, it's a single account system. It tells me the money that I've got coming into my account. So that's what it tells me. So I know based on that single entry, I received £100 on the 13th of November. So I know that I have got that. And the reason that it's called the single entry system is because the transaction is recorded only once. So you record it once when you get money coming in. So that's the single entry. The problem with that is that it doesn't give an accurate reflection of all of the finances of all of the money that's kind of come into the account. Whereas the double entry system, so that's the single entry system where you've got money coming in and you mark it once. You mark it in your logbook once that you've had a specific sum of money coming in. And then the double entry system, what it does is that it kind of matches up one transaction with another. And so this is pretty much the standard for a lot of businesses when they're doing their accounts. So it's what they use when they're kind of recording all of their transactions. So it's typically transactions include the exchange of one thing for another. If you're paying something, you would mark the fact that you've paid £100, but then as a double entry, you would mark that you've debited £100 from your account as well. Whereas in the single entry system, you would only mark that you've paid out the money. You wouldn't debit it from your account then as well. So there's a scenario that's given here, so hopefully that will kind of help you to explain things. So in the double entry system, so for example, somebody is buying a car, let's say. So you buy the car, and the sale of a car, when you are marking that in your accounting system, in your accounting book, you would mark the fact that you've made a sale, but then you would also make a note of the fact that you have lost what we call an asset. And an asset is something that is owned by the business. So anything that is owned by the business is an asset of theirs. So when a sale is made of a car, you would mark the fact that you have made this sale, so you've made this money, but then you would also make another entry to reflect the fact that you have also lost an asset. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you through some of the transactions and some of the terminology, because I think that will perhaps help you more at this stage. And then we can kind of go back through some of the scenarios. So I'm going to share my screen again. And sorry, I'm just seeing some of the, yeah, coaching sessions are assignment specific. So thank you for that. I'm just knitting into the room. Okay, so what I'm going to do is help you to understand some of the terminology. So I'm going to share my screen so that you understand some of the terminology. So first of all, we're going to talk about profit. So profit is any money that the business receives that results in an increase to them. Okay, so a profit is something that is an increase in their bottom line. So it's the amount by which the business has grown. So the profit is, so if you have, for example, if you have paid £500 for a car, and I know you probably wouldn't pay £500 for a car, but go with me here. So you spend £500 on a car and you sell that car for £600. The profit is the difference between what you bought the car for and what you sold it, which would be £100. So that would be a profit. So anything that the business has gained, that's a profit. The accounts is a summary of the financial records and transactions of the business. So your profit tells you how much money it is that you've made, the profit that the business has made. And then the accounts themselves are a summary of the transactions of the business. I made reference to an asset earlier, and an asset is something that is of value to the business which it owns. So an asset can be a car, it can be a computer, it can be a laptop, it could be a projector, it could be things that you have bought for the business. So it could be supplies that you have bought for the business that are valuable. A liability is the opposite of that. So a liability is something that is owned by somebody else. So for example, as a business, you could hire a photocopier. So you could lease a photocopier. That wouldn't be classified as an asset because you don't own that. An asset is something that you can do whatever it is that you want with because it's yours to own. Whereas if it's a liability, it means that you don't own it. It's owned by somebody else. And the liability element means that you owe them money. It's a liability because you are responsible for paying that money. And I look at it like the mortgage for your house, for example. So the house itself is an asset, but there's a mortgage on this. So you've got a liability to your mortgage lender. And until that mortgage is paid, then you will still have a liability to your mortgage lender. So even if you sell the house, which you can do, any money that needs to be paid to the mortgage, you will need to pay before you can take the profit. Does that make sense?
But just a question. It's about the assignment, the first like task one. It's about accounting. I see like about the vision and mission.
Are you looking at assignment 724?
Yeah. The first task is about vision, mission, and how. Yes, if I know, if I correct. It's not about accounting.
Yes. So that's what I was saying earlier, that when I was looking through it, there wasn't something specific that related to accounting in task number 1, but I think there are 3 tasks on here. So task number 1 is about the vision and the strategic objective of the organization. And then this is more about leadership. So it's helping you to make sure that you understand the different competencies of leadership. And then obviously there are lots of different tasks then that you need to complete. But what I'm saying is that in order to do any of the tasks, so the tasks are going to be based off of things that you have learned. But in order for you to do any of the tasks, you firstly need to understand the kind of the knowledge behind it.
Yes, of course, but is it like they are a percent focus, like in vision, mission, objective is more than accounting for the test, but not like models is linking about the task. It's about assignment. Assignment is we have to focus on more in vision, mission, how to build strategy, and the course you could support by accounting or other, as I know, I read.
Yeah, so like I said, everything that you're going to be learning is going to help you to complete the assignment. So even if, for example, the tasks don't specifically mention how to understand and interpret business accounts, you're going to need some of the information that you've learned to help you to be able to answer the questions, because you're absolutely right, Saeed, that when you are looking at the strategic objectives of your organization, those objectives are going to be financial as well. So there are going to be financial objectives for the organization. There's going to be a vision for the organization as well.
Maybe.
And remember, there is more than one task on here as well. And so again, the one thing that I would say to you is that even if it doesn't specifically say something about finances,
I'm not sure I understand.
Sorry, my phone is talking to me. It's all part of the same process. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend a little bit more time going through the interpreting and analysing accounts. I'm going to spend a little bit more time doing that. And then what I'm going to do then is that I will focus on task one, because I know that that's something that's important to you. So then I'll go through task one to help you to kind of understand how to be able to approach and respond to task one. Okay?
Yes, yes, of course. You have not have a lot of time. You will need as a marker or create a marker for the task. What is the focus from you in the if I want to answer the task 1, 2, 3 or 1, 4?
Yeah, exactly. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So let me just finish off this part and then I'll come to the tasks themselves. Okay, so just to reassure you that that is coming. But I wanted you to kind of understand the terminology first of all, because otherwise when I'm talking to you, there's no point in talking to you because you're not going to have that understanding. And also it's important to understand the terminology so that when you're doing your research and when you're speaking to your organization and you're getting that understanding from them about how it is that they manage their accounts and the process that they go through, that when they're using the terminology, that you understand the terminology and not just understand it. So it's not just about knowing the name of something, but understanding what it means as well. Okay.
Okay.
So what we're going to do now is that we will focus on the task, because I know that that's important for all of you. So I want to make sure that I'm honouring what it is that's important and that's going to be helpful for you. And so let me just share this so that we can all make sure that we're all looking at the same thing. So now I am looking at task one. And task one is all about helping you to evaluate the vision and the strategic objectives of your organization or an organization of your choice. Now, a lot of organizations will have things called a vision statement and a mission statement, and they will also have business plans as well. So your vision statement and your mission statement and your business plans are all going to be documents which are relevant to you to help you to be able to understand how to answer this question. Because in order to evaluate the vision of the business, you have to understand what that vision is. And so has anybody come across, and I'm pretty sure that you have, vision statements and mission statements? You come across?
Yes,
yeah. And so those are going to be good starting points to help you to be able to understand the vision and the objectives of your organization. So looking at the vision statement, the mission statement, and the business plan as well. And for a lot of organizations, the business plan is something that is publicly available. So a lot of businesses will put that on their website so that it's clear to everybody what the objectives of the business are, what their plans are, and how it is that they're going to get to that level. So that's the first part, because this is the important thing to realize about these tasks as well. Even though this is task number 1, you can see that they're separated into paragraphs, and each paragraph is requiring you to do something different. So when I'm talking about task 1, I'm going to look at the first paragraph of task 1. Saeed, was there something that you wanted to say?
Just about the critical evaluation, the vision, yani how to, it's the perfect way to critical evaluation the vision.
Yes. So what you're doing when you are evaluating the vision and so when you're critically evaluating it, you are first of all reviewing it and you're doing an assessment of it. So you're looking at it and you're saying to yourself, is the vision clear? Because a lot of the times, in my experience for organizations, is that they will have a vision for their business, they will have a mission statement, they'll have a vision statement, and they will have a business plan. But all 3 of those don't necessarily align, and they should do. So the business plan should be based off of the mission and the vision of the business. And so when you're evaluating the vision and the objectives of your business, or of the business that you are reviewing, one of the things that you will be doing is that you will be looking to see, well, first of all, do they all relate to each other? Do they all reference each other? Do they make sense? Do they speak about the same things? Or are they all 3 separate documents speaking about 3 completely separate things? So that's part of your evaluation of them. Are they all aligned? Do they follow on from each other? Does it make sense?
And more of they are active each other. If you active long term, you active mission. And if you active mission in the long term, you active vision.
Yeah, so you're looking to make sure that they all kind of are saying the same thing, because, for example, the mission statement is going to set out this is what we're here for, this is what our mission is, and the vision statement is going to focus on the future. And so what you're going to be looking for is to make sure that the mission of the business and the vision of the business, they all kind of are saying the same thing, that they're all helping them to kind of head in the same direction. And if you're looking at the business plan and the objectives of the business, in the objectives, what they're going to be doing, if it's done correctly, is that they will be setting out exactly how it is the business is going to achieve their mission and the vision that they have for their business. And so you want to be looking at, does the business plan, do the objectives of the business, does it all make sense? Does it detail exactly how it is, what the mission of the business is, how they're going to achieve their mission and how they're going to achieve their vision? So that's the first part of it. It's doing an evaluation to make sure that they're all kind of, that they are all connected. And that's how it should be. It should almost be like one voice. It shouldn't just be saying 3 completely different things with no connection between them. So you can either use your own business as an example, or you can use, so if it's difficult for you to be able to get the information from your own organization about what their objectives are, what their vision is, what their mission statement is, then it may be helpful for you to kind of look at another organization. So maybe someone like Amazon, or maybe even Oxfam, because I know one of you said that you worked for Oxfam, because they're likely to have that information publicly available that you can just have a look at and you can assess it. So that's the first part of it. You're doing that review, and that's what it is that you are looking for. And then what you're going to do is, and this is why they all kind of follow on from each other. So then the next part of it is, let me just look at the qualifications. So sorry, I'm just reading through one of the chats. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for putting that in the chat for us, Nasri. That's helpful. So the first thing is you're doing that critical analysis to make sure that, is the vision clear? Is the vision statement, the mission statement, and the objectives of the business, are they all aligned? And then the next thing that you're going to do then is that you're going to evaluate the managerial and the leadership competencies that will be required to deliver the objective that the business has. And so, for example, the objectives of the business may be to make a certain amount of money within 5 years. So the objectives of the business may be to say that within 5 years, we want to have made £2 million from selling a membership on our surveying course. So that may be one of the objectives of the business. And one of the things that you need to do is that you need to look at what are the competencies of the leaders that are necessary to help the organization to meet that objective. Because of course, when an organization sets objectives, the people within the organization are responsible for executing those objectives and kind of carrying out that work. Just seeing the question. So I keep seeing things pop up in the chat, so I'm just checking to make sure that it isn't anything for me. So perfect. And so what you need to do then is you need to look at what are the competencies that are needed from a managerial and leadership perspective to enable the business to deliver the objectives that they have set. So one of them may be that one of the competencies that you may need to develop is that if the organization wants to build a school, for example, so if the organization wants to build a surveying school in 5 years, you need to look at, well, what are the competencies? What are some of the leadership and managerial competencies that will be needed to help the organization to build that school? And so some of the competencies that may be required is that you may need to be able to make sure that you've got the right people who are trained to be able to actually deliver the coursework. Because if you're building a school, then one of the things that you'll need in the school is that you'll need to have material that's being taught. And so one of the competencies that you will need to be able to identify is what are some of the competencies that will be needed to be able to deliver that school. So you'll need to be able to have the ability to be able to communicate with a wide variety of people. You will also need to have the competency of being able to identify who the relevant stakeholders are so that you can make sure that you're communicating with the relevant stakeholders. And you won't be able to answer the second question, the second part of the task, until you know what the objectives are. So you need to firstly understand what are the objectives of the organization, and then you're analyzing and assessing those objectives, and you're asking yourself, what are the competencies that will be needed to deliver these objectives? What's needed from the managerial and leadership team to be able to deliver these objectives? Because of course the managers and the leadership team are going to need to make sure that the people underneath them also understands the vision of the organization. And that's why a lot of businesses don't tend to achieve their goals, because you've only got one group of people understanding the vision and the objectives of the organization, whereas everybody in the organization needs to understand it if it's going to help the organization to be able to achieve its goals and to be able to fulfill its objectives. And so I know that you've kind of covered some information already. So what I'm covering with you today, you've probably already covered in previous assessments or in previous modules, because in the next part of it is saying that what you then need to do is that you need to demonstrate when you are responding to this, that you have used one or more of the attributed skills analysis models from management theory. And when I asked the question earlier about what it is that you've done so far, you talked to me about some of the modules that you've already done so far. And so you should have already done the module to help you to be able to answer that question. Is that right? Because I'm just checking.
Sorry, what is the question again? Can you repeat?
Sure. So in the assignment, it's asking you to make sure that when you are responding to this question, that you are using one or more of the attributed skills analysis models from management theory. And so what I'm asking is that have you already been through management theory?
I'm not sure actually, sorry.
Yes, there are many manager theory we take.
Yeah. So what I'm
But
saying is that you've kind of got the information that you need to be able to help you to understand how to approach this because you've kind of gone through that already.
yeah, how to link some of this theory with assignment from the models. Yeah, our question is how to answer this assignment with perfect way. We have information, we have models, but how to confirm all the information and models and put in the assignment for best answer. This is our question.
And this is the thing, I like I say, I can help you, which is what I'm doing. I'm going through giving you some tips about how to approach answering the questions, but obviously I can't say to you, this is the model answer, this is exactly how it is that you should answer it, because otherwise all of your assignments will be exactly the same. But it's about helping you to understand where can I pull in information to help me to understand and answer this question. And as I say, the first place is to look at the vision statement, the mission statement, and the objectives or the business plan of the organization. Then once you reviewed that, then you're looking at what are the competencies that the management and leadership team will need to enable them to deliver against these objectives. And then when you are responding to that question, you need to make sure that you are including within it one or more of the skills from the analysis models and from management theory. And so then it goes on to then say that what you need to do is you need to identify the 4 most significant skills the organization needs to enhance in the next year to be able to deliver against the objectives. So again, it's identifying what are the objectives, what is the aim, what is the organization trying to achieve? Is it clear what they're trying to achieve?
I have a question here.
Sure, Faisal.
If I may. So I've been through Oxfam strategic plan from 2013, 2019. And when I finished reading all of it, I discovered that they have too many objectives. They have human rights objectives and another more specific objectives, which are related to the human rights objectives. And I'm very confused which objectives should I use in my assignment. And also they have vision and mission. So that's, I think that's a lot of objectives which are very connected and related to each other. So should I go through all of them and put them in the assignment, or can I choose just like a few of them and do my assessment?
That's a good question. And what I would say is that, again, like you say, one of the things that you need to do is you need to see if it's all aligned. So you've talked about that they've got different objectives relating to human rights. Well, when you're doing your analysis and when you're evaluating them, then that's something that you may pick out on. So you may pick out on that actually they've got the same objective listed in a completely different way. And so one of the things that I would suggest that you do is to really assess both of those objectives, to ask yourself, are they actually the same? Are they the same? Are they the same? Is it just worded slightly different, or is the objective a little bit different? So is it human rights overall? Is one objective focused on something a little bit different? So that's one of the things that you're going to be picking out when it is that you are reviewing the objectives. So you're going to be looking at things like, for example, if there is repetition of objectives, if it isn't clear what the objectives are. That's what you're going to be picking out during your assessment when you're evaluating it. Because the purpose of evaluating it is that you're likely to see things that the organization has missed, because the organization knows what it wants to see. And because you're kind of looking at it with fresh eyes, your role is to look at that and say to yourself, actually, does this all tie up? Does this all match up? And then in terms of the specific objectives it is that you are using, what I would suggest that you do is that, because then it comes on to the next part of it, is that you're looking at the objectives as a whole. So the objectives as a whole, so given the direction that the organization wants to go in, The first thing that you will be doing is identifying what are 4 skills that the organization needs to improve in the next year to help them to deliver on its objectives. So if in the example that you've given, so you said it's from 2013, I think you said, until 2019. So what you could do is, if it depends on how it's split up, you could look at 2018 to 2019, and you could look at the specific objectives for that period of time. Okay, and when you're looking at the objectives for that period of time, because the question is asking you, what is it that the organization needs to enhance in the next year to begin delivering the strategic direction? So you could look at that and you could say, well, because this is a 6-year goal for the organization, and if we are looking at the year, I'm going to pretend that 2019 is 2022. So if we're looking at the year 2022, what are the specific things that the organization wants to have achieved in 2002 to help them to achieve their overall goal? And as I am looking at that, what are the specific skills that the organization needs to focus on enhancing to ensure that in order to achieve its overall goals, that the goals that it set out for 2022, they can also achieve? Because remember, when you're setting goals for the organization, even if it's a 6-year goal plan, those goals depend on each other. So the whole purpose is that there's going to be a large goal at the end of it, and the organization, when it's setting its goals, will have smaller goals that people need to complete in order to achieve its bigger goal. And so what you're doing is that you're looking at the big goal and you're asking yourself, well, if I'm focusing on the next year ahead, what are some of these key skills that the organization needs to think about to help them to achieve this goal? What are the things that they need to be thinking about right now in the next year? Because then focusing on the next year, that's going to help them then. So once you focus on the next year, because think about it as goal setting, when you're thinking about the year ahead, sometimes you can't plan too far ahead. You have to plan for the now, and once you've done the now, then you can do the next, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you. It's clear now, and clearly it's a very like big work to do. I have another question actually.
Sure.
So you were talking about the vision and mission and how the staff understands the objectives or the vision and mission. So in my assessment, should I conduct some kind of a survey with the staff to see if they understand it, or this is not necessary?
I would say that's a matter for you. It's not required as part of the assignment because you are an employee of the organization. So you will know if you understand the objective.
Yeah.
So you will know, do I understand what the company is going for? And I'll give you an example. So when I worked as a manager in my previous company, the organization had its goals. So it had these big goals that it wanted to achieve. And part of my role as a manager was to ensure that my team understood the role that they played. And the way that you can understand that is by asking yourself, do I understand this? Do I understand the objectives of the organization? And also, what has the organization done to be able to explain these objectives to the entire team? Because, for example, in my experience, when the organization has these big goals and these objectives that it wants to achieve, the way that it ensures the team and the staff understand those the goal of the organization is by setting individual objectives. So the organization will have its own organizational objectives, but then each person will have their own objectives that they need to complete. And the purpose of completing those objectives is to help the organization to achieve the main objective.
Yeah, I got it now. Thank you. I had another question. I forgot it. Thank you.
No problem. If you remember it, feel free to unmute yourself and to be able to ask your question.
Thank you.
So again, the conclusions that you are presenting, so you're presenting your conclusions at the end of your evaluation. So you're analysing all of this information, you're understanding the vision, the mission, the objectives of the business, you are understanding the competencies that the managers will need to be able to deliver on the strategic objective. And then you're going to be focusing on the 4 most significant skills that you think that the organization needs to work on enhancing in the next year in order to start delivering against its wider objectives. So what are some of those significant skills that you think are needed? And I gave the example earlier about one of the objectives of the organization may be to kind of build some kind of a score. And so one of the core skills then that people need to develop is they need to understand how to teach the material. So that's perhaps one of the core skills that they will need. But of course, at the moment, this is all hypothetical because it depends entirely on which organization it is that you are looking at and the specific objectives of the organization. And so what you're doing is it's almost like an analysis. So the way that I would explain it is, imagine that you were being hired to give advice to this organization, and you are being hired to say to them, based off of where it is that you want to go in your organization, these are the 4 skills that I think that you need to focus on developing. So it's almost like you're giving advice to the organization. So that may be a way to help you to prepare to complete this assignment, is by looking at it as if you were being paid to give advice to the organization, and imagine that this assignment that you are completing is going to the organization, and the aim is to help the organization to make sure that they are on track to be able to achieve their goals.
Yeah, thank you. So my question, I just remembered. So can I, as you may know, that Oxfam headquarters is in UK, and we have, or GB actually, and we have many affiliates.
Yeah.
So can I just focus on Jordan?
Yeah, if it's different, because again, and I've worked in organizations before where the objectives have been slightly different, but I've also worked for organizations where even globally the objectives have been the same. So you choose the one that you want to focus on. So if you're focusing on a particular region, make it clear that that's what you're doing.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Because our smaller projects, our small objectives are the projects itself.
Yeah. So then in that case, then, I mean, I don't really have a lot of understanding about Oxfam as an organization, but I would imagine that when they're setting their goals, they would make it clear which goals apply to which region.
Which region, yes.
Yeah, so they would make it clear that, yeah, so they would make it clear in their overall goals, because otherwise, if they didn't make it clear, then nobody or none of the regions would understand what's my responsibility.
Exactly. Because they implement in different region and different countries actually, which have different level of response, emergency or development phase, in which phase the country is. So it depends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as you're making it clear what it is that you are referencing, then I think that should be fine. It's just about being clear so that whoever is reading it understands I am focusing specifically on this region.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. And then the kind of the last part of that is to identify then. So you're identifying the skills that the organization needs to enhance within the next year based on where it is that the organization wants to go, based on the objectives that the organization has. And then the next thing that you're going to do then is that you're going to look at over the next 3 to 5 years, so over a much larger period, what are the skills that the organization needs to develop over that time. So the first part is over the next year, what are the skills that needs to be developed? And then the last part is that over the next 3 to 5 years, what are the skills, what are 3 new skills that the organization needs to be able to enhance to be able to help it to achieve its overall objective. And one of the things that you can do then is discuss the implications of the skills gap that you've identified. And there are 2 ways that you can kind of do this. And so the first is what I call it's a gap analysis. It's not what I call it, that's just what it's called. And the purpose of a gap analysis is that you set out where it is that you are now, where it is that you want to be, and then what's the gap in between. So for example, I'm going to just use a very simple an explanation. If you are at the point where let's use an example of education. And so if you are a new law student, okay, so where you are now is that you're a new law student and you don't really have an understanding of law to enable you to be able to pass your exams. So that's where it is that you are now. Where it is that you want to be is that you want to be at the point where you've passed your law exams and you're working as a lawyer. And so what you need to do is you need to say to yourself, well, what is the gap? What is the gap between where I am now and where it is that I want to be? And what are the skills that I need to be able to help me to fulfill that gap?
Yeah, so I have a question here.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So in our case, it's very connected with the government. I mean, where Oxfam want to be, and where is the government now? So in our case, Oxfam, we can reach this level actually, but the government is still on a level that less than what we are aiming for.
Yeah.
So can I mention this in the assignment?
So the gap that you are looking to identify is a skills gap.
Skills gap.
So it's based specifically on skill. Yes.
Okay.
So what are the skills? So what is the gap between the skills that the organization currently has and the skills that it will need to develop in order to be able to achieve this goal?
Okay.
So that's the analysis that you are doing. So you're looking at, okay, then, so over the next 3 to 5 years, because this is the thing, because this is a longer term goal, the organization is unlikely to already have the skills that it needs to be able to do the work that it does. Because people, remember, the organization probably isn't focusing on that now, because this is 3 to 5 years in the future. So instead, what you are doing is putting on the hat of somebody who is being paid by the organization to do this assessment for them, to do this analysis. What they are asking you to do is that they're saying to you, can you please look at where it is that we are now? This is where it is that we want to go in 3 to 5 years. Can you tell us what are the 3 new skills that we need to develop to help us to fill this gap? What's the gap in our skills? What are the 3 most important skills that we will need to develop to help us to be able to achieve this overall objective?
There are a theory in that, like development stuff about there are theory used in analysis, maybe in, or just read the models.
Say that again, Saeed, please.
For analysis, the development of team for training or skills, they are a theory for that, or they are models.
So what it is that you will be doing is, because, and this is the thing, it's a little bit difficult at the moment because you're not looking at what the objectives are, so you can't see them. So I guess from your perspective, I guess what you're asking is that how will we know what that gap is? How will we know what that skill gap is? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, about the gap, how to know that the skills for the staff is needed. They are models for the analysis, the skills needed, or theory.
So there should be some modules for it. At the moment, I can't point you to it. So what I would say is that you speak to Liverpool College, because I'm sorry, I can't give you the specifics on that. But what I would say in order for you to respond to it is that what you are doing is that you're doing an analysis. And this is an analysis based off of your opinion. So again, you look at the objectives of the organization and you are saying to yourself, I can see that the organization wants to have a school in 5 years, and in this school it wants to have 5,000 students. The organization doesn't have a school at the moment. So the skills that are most important for it to develop are, first of all, it needs to understand how to run a school. It also needs to understand what are the regulations that kind of govern running a school. So those are the skills that they need to develop. They need to have more of an understanding about how to create a curriculum, for example. So you will know what the skills are based on your research. And I know that it's difficult to see it at the moment because you're not at that point where you've done that research. But once you can see the goals of the organization, it makes it easier for you to then say, okay, then these are the goals. Where's the gap in the skills that they need? So you have to understand the company as well. So where's the gap in the skills that they currently have? Because remember, like I say, if this is something they want to achieve in 3 to 5 years, the chances are they don't already have it. So you're asking yourself, if the objective is to build a school, what's the biggest, what are the 3 skills that the organization needs to be able to develop and enhance to help it to achieve this goal?
Sorry, but I want to tell you something about this point. They have an organization that's connecting between the strategy, goals, and the evaluations for employment, which help them to specific what kind of skills to give them training or to increase this kind of skills to support the plans which will achievement the strategic goals.
Yes.
And this is what we do it in my organization in the public sector. Actually, this is kind of tools that we support strategy planning through this kind of tools.
Yeah. And it's like, if I give the example of a business, so for example, I have a business and I have goals for my business. And one of the things that I have to do when I'm creating my business plan is that I need to ask myself, okay, then, so this is where it is that I want to go. This is where I am now. What skills do I need to develop to get to this point? So for example, one of my goals could be that I want to create a school where I am delivering business skills to other business owners. And so I have to say to myself, okay, then, so what skills would I need to help me to be able to run this school? What's relevant for me? What's necessary for me to develop? Because once I know the skills that I need, what I can do is that in my plan, I can include steps to help me to acquire those skills. But in order for me to do that, I first need to understand what those skills are. And so for, you know, as Mesa said, that, you know, for some organizations, they already have a process in place to kind of help them to do that. They've got strategic planning in place. They've got somebody in place to kind of help them to do that analysis and that assessment. This is what you are doing. You are being that person. And again, it's difficult to see at this stage how it is that you can answer the question because you're not looking at the goals. So that's why I'm saying that you need to do the modules and you need to do the kind of the assignment in kind of the order in which it's set out, because until you can see those goals, it's not going to give you any ideas to help you to understand what the skills are. Mesa, you've taken yourself off mute.
Yes, actually, if I want to take it from the explanations that you say, in my organizations or in the business that I'm working or company that give them a consultation, what we do is like that we put the strategy plan, which including strategy goals, which are connecting in operations plans. Then I'm moving to connecting to employment and working goals, personal goals, to support like this kind of to achievement organization strategy goals. This is as simple. If I want to write it in this assignment, that what I have to do.
So yeah, so using the example that you've given, so maybe as part of your assessment, you've identified that the skill that's kind of missing, it could be a project manager, for example. So a project manager is one of the skills that's kind of missing to be able to bring everything together. And so that's what you're doing. So you're looking at to say, this is the skill that we are missing. And you're not going to the point where you are saying, this is who is going to, this is the person that we're going to hire to be able to fulfill this skill. But what you're doing is that you're looking to say, these are 3 of the skills. So there could be 20 skills. Right, there could be 20 skills that the organization needs to develop, but in this last part, what you're doing is you're identifying what 3 new skills, so skills that they don't already have, what skills will need to be enhanced to help the organization to achieve its goal.
As I think it's, as I told you, 2, you have to connect between the skills and the projects strategy projects and the strategy goals for organization, which connected with vision and with the mission. This is if we want to see it from this kind of view.
Yes, you're looking at everything, and you're looking at the whole vision of the company, you're looking at their objectives, and you're asking yourself, based on where the organization needs to be in 3 to 5 years, what are the specific skills that they need, what are 3 of the specific skills that they need to develop to help them to do this? And you're taking all of those things into consideration. Okay. And then the last part of that, so once you've kind of identified what are the skills, what's the gap, what's the gap that between where it is that they are now and the skills that they need to develop in the next 3 to 5 years, the next thing that you need to do is that you need to discuss the implications of the skills gap that you've identified. So in other words, what would happen if the organization was unable to meet those skills? So based on the skills that you've identified, what would be the implication if the organization doesn't do work to ensure that it acquires those skills? Because again, if I give myself as an example, if I want to set up a school, which is a marketing school, if I want to set up that school, I would identify the skills that I need to develop to help me to achieve that, to help me to achieve that goal of setting up the school. But then I would also need to say to myself, if I need these 3 skills to help me, what are the implications if I don't have these skills? Like, what's the implication of not having these skills on the organization's overall goals? So what impact would it have on the organization? Because again, for organizations, one of the things that they do to be able to kind of justify incurring expenses, those expenses could be taking on new staff, those expenses could be training people. In order to be able to justify doing that, they need to be able to understand what's the impact if we don't do this. Because for organizations, it's all about how can we save money, right? So it's either how can we save money, or how can we make money, or how can we save time or make time? And so when you're going through this, have those questions in your mind. What's the implication on the organization if they don't do anything to be able to make sure that those gaps or those skills are developed? What is the financial implication? What is the time implication for the organization? So what is the cost to them? What's the impact? Bayan, you've taken yourself off mute. Did you have a question? Okay, I'm going to assume that that was an accident then. And so again, it's not just about saying these are the skills that I think that the organization needs. You need to take it a step further, and you need to assess what is the implication to the organization if it doesn't take steps to be able to get these skills. Does anybody have any questions on that point?
This implication that determine how this skill is related to goals. Yes, determine if this skills is high percent related to this goals, the effective is high. But if this skill is not related a lot of this goal, the effective is low. Yes.
So yeah, so it could be, for example, that if they don't have this, because like you say, if the organization doesn't get the skills needed to be able to help it to achieve its goal, it's not going to achieve its goal. So what's the impact of that? So maybe it could be a reputational impact, because maybe they've committed to contract with another organization to help them to achieve their goal. So maybe the implication is financial, because they've got a contractual obligation to deliver the specific objective. Maybe it's a reputational one, because maybe they've publicized it, and the implication for the organization is that it's going to damage their reputation, which could have an impact on their revenue, which means that staff could lose trust in them. And so what you are doing is that you are asking yourself, okay, then, if these are the 3 skills that the organization needs to develop, you're identifying why it is that the organization needs to develop those skills. But then you're also saying, if they don't, this is potentially going to be the implication of it. And a lot of it is that, you know, you won't know 100% exactly what the implication is going to be. But the way that you will find out is by looking at the organization, looking at their objectives and saying to yourselves, if they don't do this, what's going to happen? So for example, when I'm working with my clients, when they set a goal, so at the end of the session, we'll set a goal, we'll say to them, okay, then this is the thing that you're going to do. And I always say to them, what is the impact on you if you're not able to achieve this goal? If you don't do the work that's needed, what is the impact on you? So that impact could be that if they've set themselves a goal that they will approach 10 people in the hopes that they will sign up one client. If they do not complete their goal, the implication is they won't be able to get the client. If they don't get the client, then they may not be able to pay their bills. If they're not able to pay their bills, they may go into arrears with their mortgage. And if they can't, and they continue to be in arrears in their mortgage, that may end up in their house being repossessed. So do you see how sometimes one thing can have a knock-on effect on other things? Does that kind of help to clarify things?
Yeah, sometimes when you study the skills you needed, that discover that you need a high cost or the successful is low. So sometimes you use outsourcing for the skills, some of skills, so to achieve your goals.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It's like exactly as you said, it's looking at, okay, then, so what are these skills that needs to be developed? And if the organization doesn't do this, then what is the impact? And one of the things that you've just said, Saeed, is that maybe one of the impact, the one impact could be that as an organization that they do need to outsource, and if they do outsource, the cost of that is going to be more than the business hopes to have made within that period of time, for example. So that's just kind of an example of maybe what one of the implications is.
Yes, yes. Because sometimes I see that in the assignment you have to critical evaluation, not just about everything. You sometimes against the critical for this scope or this vision and how to fix it or to support another scope.
Yeah, it's about looking at things from different angles. This is what it's like being in business. When you're running a business, you have to be able to look at things from lots of different angles, because one thing that you do over here could have an effect on something that needs to be done over there. And it's about, as part of your assessment, understanding what are all of the elements involved in the organization achieving its business goals. What does it need? And what's the implication to the organization if it's not able to get the skills that it needs to help it to achieve the goals that it's set for itself?
Yes. Yeah. About the task number 2.
Sorry, Saeed, say that again.
Task number 2 in the same assignment.
Yeah, so I will go through that because I'm just conscious of time, and that the time is running by. I can't believe how quickly it's kind of gone by. So again, what I would say is, you know, because there are 4 specific tasks here, this isn't going to be the only time that you go through these tasks. Like, it's not just going to be like, this is the only chance that you've got. Remember as well that you've got your coaching session. So what I would suggest to you, Saeed, as well, is that sometimes you can fill your brain with so much information that it confuses you and that it overwhelms you. I would suggest focusing on one thing at a time. Because when you focus on that one thing at a time, you can make sure that it's done right. You can get that individual coaching to be able to help you to navigate through it. And then you can kind of move on to the next one, and then to the next one then as well. So that would be my suggestion for you, because I'm conscious that we've got 2 minutes left. And so I want to be able to take this opportunity. Faisal, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. So I was thinking if for me, I would use the PESTEL tool to evaluate this skills.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So is there any suggestion from your side?
So I think the PESTEL, because it's looking at the political, the environmental, the social, technological, it's looking at all of those different elements. So when you are doing your evaluation, that may be one thing that you do to kind of help you to understand the impact on the organization if it doesn't achieve its goals, because maybe there's a potential opportunity that it could miss out on. So that's one thing that you can do. Another way that you could do this is that you could do a SWOT analysis. So when you're doing a SWOT analysis, you're looking at things like the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats of the organization. Or to the organization. So that's another way that you could do that to help you to be able to do that critical evaluation, to help you to understand what does the organization need to focus on? What are the specific things that it needs to focus on? And you could base that off of, using the SWOT analysis as an example, you could base that off of the fact that perhaps there is a particular weakness that the organization has. So maybe that's where it is that you focus on helping the organization to build up their skills. So there's lots of different things that you can use. So you can use PESTEL, you can do a gap analysis, and you can do a SWOT analysis as well.
Thank you.
No problem. No problem at all. Okay. So I'm very conscious of time. It is 5 p.m. and I know that you've been sitting here patiently, you've been listening. Hopefully you've kind of got enough information to help you to do task number 1. And then as you continue to go through the modules, you'll get your individual coaching sessions as well. And you'll have more coaching as a group like this to kind of help you to understand how to navigate the assignments as well. And remember, Liverpool College is always there for you to be able to ask questions as well. Sorry, Saeed, were you going to say something then?
Just said thanks for your efforts and explain.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here. Very best of luck with your studies. I wish you all of the best, and hopefully I shall speak to you all soon.
Inshallah. Thank you.
Care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.